Yo, what's going on, fantasy football family? It's again another episode of Off the Line Fantasy Football Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Eugene. Thank you for giving us your ears and tuning in with us as we're part of the Destination Debbie Radio Network with Ray GQ. You can tune in to him, wake up in the
The
morning,
GOAT.
Monday through Thursday at 7 a.m. You also got 4D Chess. Them boys are really getting into dynastying and talking about specific players and their values and how you should kind of maneuver. And there's a lot of things going on this channel. You can also tune in to Elite Seekers with Ben. He's putting you on game with the next crop of talent that's potentially coming to the NFL. So just a lot of things that we got going on the channel. You can follow me on Twitter at Fantasy Genes. That's GENES. Our official Twitter handle, you can find us as Off the Line FF. To the other host of the show, Ike, what's going on? How you doing? How you feeling?
Pretty good. It's been 2 weeks since I've gotten my LASIK, and I can see everything pretty damn clearly. I might add it's life changing. So I have much a clearer vision than I could have ever dreamed of. I can be found on Twitter at just_Ike09. Yeah, man. Like we had a phenomenal weekend of divisional round football. Every single game went down to the last play, bro. Like,
yeah,
it's literally the one weekend where all football fans, what all football fans dream of, right? I mean, obviously, if you were a fan of the team that lost, I mean, it was kind of gut wrenching for you. But as just a fan of the game in general, man, like you couldn't have asked for anything better than that.
You really couldn't. I don't even, like, in my lifetime, I can't think of like a more memorable weekend of like playoff football. I know it sounds kind of like revisionist history, but I mean, I really can't think of like a weekend where like every single divisional game was just like basically a field goal from a win or a loss outside the OT. OT was basically a coin flip. So just a great weekend of football. But we want to touch on some of what we saw and our takeaways from the divisional round. My first one we'll talk about is the Bengals versus Titans. The one thing that stood out to me outside of Burrow being on his back like a third of the game was his ADOT. His ADOT was really low, it was 4.2. So they definitely wanted to make sure they got the ball out of his hands quick because, as I stated, 9 sacks, you're on your back a third of the game. So they had a game plan for the most part, like just like 1-2, get it out of my hands and let your players do what they do. So that was my takeaway from that game. How about yours?
Yeah, I mean, and just kind of to kind of piggyback on that point, it makes perfect sense for you to have such a low ADOT and the game plan to be just quick passing game, and Chase and Higgins went they combined for over 200 yards receiving. It was a pretty simplified game plan for them. They just get your playmakers the ball, right? Get Chase. They had a couple of screen passes for Chase. He broke one for like 60 yards, almost scored, got tripped up. At the 20-yard line. And then T. Higgins had a lot of, nice catches, as well. But yeah, it was a pretty simplified game plan. And sometimes you don't necessarily need to overthink it. You know your team's limitations, your team's strengths, play to your strengths and, see what happens. And, but the takeaway that I had from this game was that, Ryan Tannehill, that whole Ryan Tannehill experiment in Tennessee, I think it's reached its peak. He's limited as a quarterback, and if Derrick Henry's not ripping off long runs, and you're forcing Tannehill to pretty much beat you through the air. I mean, this game was kind of exemplified that he can't do that. He threw 3 interceptions. I think the first play of the game he threw an interception. It
Yeah,
was like
it was the
horrific.
first play of the game.
It was a horrific interception to I think Jesse Bates, Bengals safety, and just easily put them behind the 8 ball. So Tannehill's bad, and I think in the offseason Tennessee may need to look long and hard at drafting his replacement, or maybe bringing in some competition, because I know they are on the hook for his contract this for this
Yeah,
upcoming
this
year.
coming year, he's a $57 million cap hit, so
Yeah.
he's not going anywhere.
He's not going anywhere. Yeah, he's definitely not going anywhere. But AJ Brown's awesome. He's still awesome. 5 catches, 42 yards and a touchdown. And he
Yeah,
at one point he was taking over that game. And as well as Joe Burrow played, and the Bengals offense, their skill guys, as well as they played, they could have lost that game because they were settling for field goals, and Ryan Tannehill and the Titans, despite how bad Tannehill was, they still had a chance to win the game in the end. And they were driving near midfield, and Tannehill threw his 3rd interception, setting up Cincinnati at midfield. So it's your job is pretty easy, at that point if you're Joe Burrow. Just complete a couple of passes here, get in the field goal range. You needed like 15-20 yards to get in the field goal range. You had 2 timeouts. So it was relatively, with 20 seconds left, so it's relatively straightforward there. So yeah, that was my takeaway. Tannehill's bad, held the Titans back, and AJ Brown's awesome.
Yeah, first play of the game and his last play of the game, interceptions.
Yeah, go figure, right?
Yeah,
go
no.
Figure.
The next game, San Fran versus Green Bay. What was your takeaway from that game?
Aaron Rodgers, choking again at home in the playoffs. 10 points. These are conditions that he's used to playing in, so you can't really use the weather as an excuse, right? I mean, it's just he was, that 49ers. Credit to that 49ers defense for showing up and holding that Green Bay offense in check. 10 points. They forced some turnovers. They blocked a field goal. They blocked a punt. A-Rod had a lot of 3 and outs in the fourth quarter, a couple 3 and outs in the fourth quarter to when he had chances to pretty much show have a signature playoff moment, signature drive, whatever you want to call it, and he didn't deliver. So this has kind of been a theme of playing at home in Green Bay for him, just failing to live up to those big moments, right? He has a Super Bowl win, but how long can you rest on those laurels, right? I mean, you haven't really done much after that, right? To me, it's just a lot of disappointment since then. And so that my biggest takeaway was just Aaron Rodgers not they were the number 1 seed, and they had a great season, and he's probably going to win the MVP again, but he didn't show up in this game.
Yeah, maybe the NFL knew something because they scheduled both number 1 seeds on the same day, and they both got the field goal boot out the playoffs.
They know they were looking funny in the light, so
yeah.
Like, what, let's put this on Saturday just in case. We don't want to end on a sour note. Let's just go ahead and end this on Saturday night. And they were right. And kudos to the NFL schedulers.
Yeah, salute to them. All right, mine was. Regardless of the 2 wins that Jimmy G's had in the playoffs, he is replaceable. Like, regardless of all the success, you need to replace this guy. Like, 11 of 19. I mean, all he threw was slants. Somehow teams don't understand that that's all he throws is slants. But clearly they don't really trust him. He's just not good enough, man. I don't think so. That's the takeaway from me was they won in spite of his non-playmaking ability.
Yeah, what's funny is that like these talking heads on these on these sports shows, they just embarrass themselves by saying that Jimmy G's a winner. He does this, he does that. It's like, are y'all watching the games? Like QB wins is like I lament the whole QB wins narrative thing. He's the quarterback, the starting quarterback of a team that actually won in the playoffs. So by virtue of that, he is technically a winner, but he has nothing. He had little to do with the win. He had little to do with the win. He's 4-1 in the playoffs, right? He's 4-1 in the playoffs. He has 2 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. So the less they rely on him, the more successful the team is.
Yeah, I think I heard something yesterday after was it the first quarter of the Cowboys game? They said like the last like 7 quarters he has like 0 touchdowns, like 210 yards and like two picks, 2 or 3 picks. I'm like, bro, what is like? You can't win with that. Like,
Yeah.
you ain't winning no Super Bowl with that. So I don't.
Yeah, and I saw a tweet. I saw a tweet maybe like an hour and a half ago. Someone said like out of the remaining, these are the touchdown pass leaders remaining in the playoffs, and Mahomes is at the top with 8. I think Stafford was second with 4. Burrow has 2. Travis Kelce has 1, and then Jimmy Garoppolo at number 5. With 0. So I'm like,
oh man,
like come on, man. You can't continue to call Jimmy G a winner because it's just, I don't know, man. It really, I don't know, it really grinds my gears how people just, he wins games, but he's winning. No, he's not winning. The team is winning.
Yeah.
Quarterbacks don't beat other quarterbacks. Teams beat teams, right? Teams beat teams.
This is true. Yes.
Shout out to Lord Don't Lose. I saw that tweet and I retweeted it.
Sure did tweet that.
Shout out to Lord Don't Lose. Yeah, like I saw that and I'm like, yes, please, you are speaking to me, sir.
Yeah. But I mean, as long as he keeps winning, this will definitely help them in terms of pawning him off to another team, so they can go and get Trey Lance up in there and do what he needs to do.
And they said that there's a report that they're no matter what happens, I think no matter what happens this season, they're still going to replace Jimmy G at some point in this offseason.
Yeah.
I mean, you traded up all that draft capital to get Trey Lance, and you gotta get him on the field. Period.
Yeah. Next game, Rams Bucs. My takeaway is Cooper Kupp is that guy, man. Like 9 for 183, 1 touchdown, 4.46 yards per route run. Like, bro, like what can you do? I mean, I don't have no else to say. Like the game winning play. I mean, he just literally runs down the seam of the field untouched, runs right past the safety, and murder she wrote. So that's all. I mean, that's what I got. So
yeah, he was uncoverable most of that game. Most of that game he was uncoverable. So I completely understand why you went with Cooper Kupp. Speaking of another guy that is that guy, he actually proved it to me this past week, and that's Matthew Stafford. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious. He's that dude, man. He is that dude. 40 seconds, no timeouts. On the road against the defending champs. That is a signature Matthew Stafford drive that pretty much catapulted him to the upper echelon of QBs, in my opinion. I think if he goes on to win a Super Bowl, you can go ahead and slot him into the top 5 quarterback in this league.
Oh,
I think you can. I mean, I think the narrative with him in Detroit was he's a really, really talented guy, but he was stuck in Detroit. That's what I believed. I mean, he played with Megatron for almost a decade and didn't get it done with him. But you put a great team around him, you see what happens, right? I mean,
yeah.
So they're in the NFC Championship game. They're hosting the NFC Championship game with a chance to host the Super Bowl. For this, this may be the second straight year that a team hosts the Super Bowl. So and for the longest time, it was just you couldn't do that, right? You couldn't host the Super Bowl in your home stadium, but now back-to-back teams may do that, and that'll be pretty unprecedented. But yeah, Matthew Stafford, clutch. That's my takeaway.
Yeah, I remember I had that tweet that said you could take Stafford out of Detroit, but can you take the Detroit out of Stafford? he's showing us you could. I guess this game he's showing us that you can take it out of him. So
yeah,
hopefully he doesn't nut up versus San Fran.
And then we're praising Stafford, and then he turns into a pumpkin next week. Hopefully that doesn't happen though. I think since McVay has been owned by Shanahan, 6 straight losses versus the 49ers. Hopefully, I think this is the week that they finally get over that hump. 49ers are kind of banged up coming into that game, it'll be curious to see how they play. But I think this is the time for the Rams to kind of get over that hump and
Yeah.
represent the NFC in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah. And the last game, the best game of the
The main
weekend,
event.
Bills versus KC. What you got for a takeaway?
Um, Josh Allen. Josh Allen. I can do a package deal with Josh Allen, Gabriel Davis, but I don't want to steal anybody's thunder. So Josh Allen, this postseason, 9 touchdowns, only 14 incomplete passes.
Mm.
Just think about how just he was on an absurd tear. Unfortunately for that game, somebody had to lose, right? Somebody had to lose that game, but Josh Allen has just been phenomenal in the playoffs, and he was just slinging it left and right. We did, last week on the podcast, we said that this game is going to be a shootout, and whoever has the ball last is going to win the game,
Yep.
and that's
Yep.
exactly what happened. How
Yep.
we got there, we couldn't have predicted. Basically like 3 lead changes in under within the 2 minute after the 2 minute warning. We couldn't have predicted that, but we did say that was going to be a pretty a pretty competitive game, a pretty competitive shootout, and that's exactly how it played out, man. And that was the greatest game that I've ever seen because it just kept like going and going and going and going back and forth. And for context, I had the Bills money line. I had the Bills money line separately, and then I had the Bills money line plus the Rams money line in a parlay. So I was getting ready to cash out.
Yeah.
But when Josh Allen hit that 4th and 13 to Gabriel Davis to take the initial lead, I was like, yes, let's go. And then Tyreek Hill next play, 70 yards. Yeah, peace sign, right? Hit the 15-yard line. And then I was like, damn, all right, Josh Allen, you can answer. So they drove right down the field, scored again, 13 seconds. I'm like, all right, yeah, bet. About to cash out again. And then Kansas City got the ball back. Tyreek Hill, they completed a pass to Tyreek Hill for 20 yards. I'm like, oh shit, they're about to get in the field goal range, aren't they? And then and then finally got in the field goal range. And then as soon as they lost the coin toss, I was like, oh, it's over.
Yep.
It's over.
Yep.
But yeah, that was an amazing game. But yeah, Josh Allen's that dude.
Yeah. Mine was I had two. I had these are your top 2 dynasty quarterbacks going head to head. And they show why they're the if you're playing a super flex, these are generally the first 2 picks mixed with JT and why they're up there, man. Like it was like I don't even have anything else to say. Like somebody had to lose. Both quarterbacks played good enough to win, and the coin flip decided who was going to win the game. So it's just funny you see some Bills players complaining about the OT rules, but KC put everybody on notice 2019 with that great game versus New England.
Yeah.
After that game, they told everybody like, "Hey, let's get these rules changed," and no other owner co-signed them. Now look 3 years later, we got the Bills now complaining about the same OT rules that KC told y'all about. So
I mean, all they had to do was, they were the number 1 defense all season long. Just play defense. That's it.
yeah,
Play defense in regulation. The OT rules, they suck. I'll be the first to admit that, but the Bills had multiple opportunities to stop Kansas City from scoring after the 2-minute warning.
Yeah.
So that's on them for not playing defense. It's a shame that the game that gets decided by a coin flip because your defense can't stop a nosebleed. So yeah,
bro. The first play, the Tyreek play was like, all right, cool. It's 20 yards, cool. The second play, the Kelsey was egregious to me because Kelsey was lined up in the formation and there's no other wide receiver outside, but you still got the corner on that side of the field still playing. He's still playing as if there's a wide receiver out there. He didn't tuck in, so Kelsey ran his route inside of him and then drug his ass for an extra like 10 yards. I'm like, bro, why are you giving up? Like you should be playing inside out at that point. If there's literally nobody outside of like on that side of the field, it was nobody. It was just Kelsey in the formation. That's it. So I'm like,
yeah, I think they might have leaked somebody into the flat, but even with that, it wouldn't have mattered. But I saw a breakdown of that play by Dan Orlovsky on ESPN.
Mm-hmm.
Mahomes like had some eye manipulation, so he kind of looked to the right a little
Okay.
bit, kind of held the middle a little bit, and then
Yeah.
at the last minute saw Kelsey breaking, and he threw a perfect
Eh,
pass. Like you had
Yeah.
like for that to work, you had to throw a perfect pass. So
Yeah.
he hit him in stride, and I think it was like another 20 yards, and
Yep.
they got in the field goal range. And then you
Yep.
had to have a kicker, a clutch kicker to make the kick. It's one thing to get in the
Yep.
field goal range, but man, like having a reliable kicker, McPherson in Cincinnati, Harrison Bucker
Yep.
in Kansas City,
Yep.
Matt Gay in LA, like all these
Yeah.
clutch Robbie Gold in San Francisco.
Yep.
I
Yep.
mean, it just pays to have a clutch kicker. Unlike our kicker in Dallas, um,
Greg the
can't
leg.
yeah, Greg the
Greg the
leg,
dead leg.
Greg dead leg, yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to veer off the path, but yeah, having clutch kickers that is just such a luxury to have.
Yeah. All right. Now we can we'll kind of touch on like outlooks for certain teams. I know once we get deeper in the off season, we're gonna take a little deeper dive. We just want to touch on a few teams. Just news that have happened along the way, or a team that lost in the playoffs. We just want to touch on them real quick. The first one, obviously, is the Saints. They just lost Sean Payton. He wants to chill on coaching. He probably gonna go into TV because there's a little less stress. Um, from a fantasy perspective, we're kind of in a lull because you don't know what they're going to do. Like they need to figure out who's their coach, and then with their cap situation, how are they going to maneuver to try to keep, if they can even keep certain pieces like their left tackle. Armstead is pretty much the best as a premier tackle, and they won't be able to afford him. And then do you bring Taysom back? You got Jameis Winston. Do you bring him back? Um, it's a lot of questions that need to be answered for sure. When you see the Saints, what do you got?
Yeah, so just a quick note about the cap space situation. I follow Nick Underhill. He's one of the Saints,
I was
the
about to
main
quote. I was about to quote him. Yeah,
yeah, one of the main Saints beat writers. He proposed a scenario. Well, he proposed a scenario that basically the Saints don't necessarily even have to cut anybody to save or to get under the cap. They can clear like
yeah,
$100 million by converting a lot of salary, a lot of base salary into signing bonuses, and they can basically prorate them
push.
for X amount of years.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
he listed like all these different players. I think Marshawn Lattimore, you can do that for him. Like there's all these different players that they can prorate a lot of these base salaries that they convert to signing bonuses
yeah. He
to clear
basically
a lot of cap
said
space.
anybody that's 27 and older just move move the money back basically. So basically the whole
Yeah,
roster.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but
So
yeah,
with regards to that, I mean, we also need to figure out, see what's going to happen with Michael Thomas. Like, do they trade him? Like, what are
yeah,
they going to do with him? Because he basically hasn't played for the better part of 2 years, 2 seasons
yeah, yeah,
since breaking the NFL record, for receptions in a season. I mean, we saw him week 1 in 2020, high ankle sprain, and then he came back, and he wasn't the same guy. And then he had ankle surgery, later in the later in the off season and missed the whole year.
yeah,
So, I don't know, man. Like we got to figure out they got to figure out what they're going to do with Michael Thomas. Alvin Kamara's value. I mean, we don't know how he's going to be used, but he's still they're the offensive centerpiece. So he's not going anywhere. His contract situation is. I think he signed an extension a couple years ago, so I think he still has a couple years left on his deal.
yeah,
But that's basically it for New Orleans for the skill guys. I mean, you just need to figure out what they're going to do with Michael Thomas. They definitely need to get another receiver in house. And Kamara is still there, and figure out what they're going to do with the quarterback situation.
yeah, yeah. Next thing we want to touch on is the Packers. They got a very glaring need of what are they going to do with A-Rod, or how are they going to maneuver that? Because basically A-Rod holds all the chips. And then also they got Devontae with his contract situation. Are they going to give him the money that he deserves, or are they just going to franchise tag him and piss him off? I know we both saw a report about how they think they can maneuver a way to both get to Denver somehow. And I saw a trade
Or
package where it was like Albert O, Jerry Judy, I think 23 first, and some other stuff. I saw a glimpse of that of the package, and even still, I was just like, bro, this wouldn't even fly on Madden. So I don't know how they're gonna try
yeah,
to finesse
Madden would
this.
reject that trade with the quickness. Madden would reject that bullshit. Like, why would you? What?
Yeah,
Uh, yeah. But I honestly think that whatever Aaron Rodgers decides to do, Devontae Adams will be a huge part of that. Well, Devontae Adams will decide what he's going to do.
yeah,
Because if Aaron Rodgers, decide, I mean, my gut feeling is that Aaron Rodgers comes back. Either he comes back or he retires. Those are the things that these are the two things that I think will happen. But in all likelihood, I think he comes back. It's fun to speculate that he's potentially going to go to another team. We had fun with saying, "Oh, he's going to go with Pittsburgh." You saw how him and Mike Tomlin were winking at each other earlier in the season,
yeah,
but or go to Denver because they have all those weapons. In an ideal world, Denver's like the perfect fit for him, right?
yes,
But I don't think I mean if he gets traded, Devontae Adams will. I mean, I don't know if he's going to be. I don't know if he's going to want to catch passes from Jordan Love because we've seen what Jordan Love is. We've seen a couple of games of Jordan Love when he's had a chance to start and 50% of his passes completion. So I mean, and they see him in practice every week, and he's not even active on game days. Like he wasn't even active on game days for the most part. I mean, I know this year is a little bit of a different story, but last year his rookie year wasn't active on game days. So I mean, that was one of the one of the more wasted first round picks I can remember. And actually traded up to get him, which is
yeah.
even more
They traded
astonishing.
back into the first round to go
They
get
traded
him.
back into the first round because like, oh no, we cannot leave this draft without Jordan Love. We cannot do it. Oh man,
Oh
like
man,
that's the funniest thing about. But
yeah,
my gut feelings, I think Aaron Rodgers does come back for one more year, and then they'll probably franchise Devontae Adams. And
yeah,
then maybe in 2023 he'll test free agency and he'll get another deal from another team, and Aaron Rodgers will be hanging it up. That's what I think is going
yeah,
to happen.
yeah. Last team I want to talk about is the Buccaneers. We also saw Tom Brady. He lost to the Rams, and then over the last couple of days, some of the things that he said is stuff that I've never heard him say before. He just sounded like he said the word like satisfied, and just kept talking about family and family's gonna make the decision. And he sounded like a person that's like pretty much ready to be done.
Content,
And
basically.
yeah, he sounded very content, and you've never heard him say that before, or even sound like that. And then
Yeah.
also the Bucs, they got cap decisions to make on their end, also with Chris Godwin. He was just franchised last year. He tore his ACL, MCL, whatever else in his knee. So they got a decision with that, what they're gonna do. They got a couple linemen, they got some defensive players. What do you think? What you got in terms of the Bucks, and what do you think that you got going? Thinking about them.
Yeah, I don't know. This is a tough one, man. When if Brady comes back, then it'll be all systems go. One more, they'll make another run at it. Um, it's kind of early to it's kind of early to tell what's going to happen with Brady because again, we've never heard him speak in this manner before. Like he's 44 years old, about to be 45, and he knows that he can't play forever. But he did. He said many years ago, I want to play until I'm 45. I want to play until I'm in the mid 40s. And look what he's
Yeah,
doing. He's still at the top of his game. It's not like he can't play anymore, So
yeah,
you saw him lead the NFL in passing touchdowns and passing yards.
yep.
At age 44, which is ridiculous. They were able to kind of push through this year despite all the turmoil they had, all the injuries they had, all the backstage or behind the scenes drama that they had. They were still able to push through, and Brady was Brady was still Brady. All right, so you know once Brady makes the decision, which I don't know if gun to my head right now, I'd say he comes back again for this. I think this may be his like farewell tour, his final year. But once that happens, then you'll see, maybe Chris Godwin come back on a cheaper deal, or maybe get franchised again. And then Gronk will come back again, because I think Gronk, if Brady retires or Brady doesn't come back to Tampa Bay, then Gronk is gone too. Gronk is probably going to hang it up. So and he previously said that I'm not playing with anybody else other than Tom Brady as my quarterback. So I'm definitely not going to catch passes from Kyle Trask. So yeah, that's pretty much. I mean, I think that's it's kind of early to tell, but gun to my head today, if you were to ask me today, I would say that Brady comes back from one more, basically like a last dance, like a real last dance farewell tour.
Actually, the other way, I think he retires, if you ask me right now. But like we said, we just wanted to touch on just kind of a couple of outlooks. We'll go in more in depth in the coming weeks with going through division, really breaking down what we look at, what we're looking at from a fantasy perspective for sure. Next thing, I just want to kind of touch on a couple of players and their potential values. The first one is Gabe Davis. I mean, as everybody saw, the six receptions, 200 yards, 4 touchdowns, first time ever a wide receiver catches 4 touchdowns in a playoff game, stuff like that. And now people are going crazy over Gabe. I know I've seen. I mean, as soon as I saw him catch the 4 touchdowns, I put all my Gabe Davis. I put him on the block to see what's good.
2 bites, yeah,
just to see what the waters are looking like. For me, I mean, I look at Gabe Davis, the situation in Buffalo. Pretty much every other wide receiver outside of Diggs is not under contract. And then Beasley has, I think, another year, but he could be cut with minimum tax to the cap. So
1.5 million
the second
dead cap.
Yeah, so Gabe Davis is pretty much the second option, second or third option, depending on Knox or him, and then obviously Diggs at 1. So I think it looks good for him, honestly. What you got?
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. It is a very favorable outlook for him. I'm not going to be going crazy and just blowing a first round pick for him, or a high second round pick for him, or anything like that. And on Twitter, I saw that somebody sold him for the 105 in this upcoming rookie draft, and I was like, wow, kudos to that guy for capitalizing on that on the recency bias and being prisoner of the moment, because wow, that's astonishing. But no, like like you said, I mean, he's probably walking into being the wide receiver 2 in a top 5 offense, headed by Josh Allen. I mean, you want players that are tethered to elite quarterbacks that throw the ball a lot. They are usually they've been near the top in the league in pass attempts over the last couple of years. So I mean, that's the stuff that you like to see. And then with the wide receiver situation, kind of unfolding the way that we anticipated unfolding this offseason, I mean, he's going to get a lot of targets. He'll have more opportunities. But it's another kind of like takeaway from that game is that, like, throughout the entire season, he was not getting snaps. Like Emmanuel Sanders and Cole Beasley were getting snaps over him, which is crazy to me. If you have this guy on the bench, if you have Weapon X on the bench, that's capable of just taking over a game like this. Now, granted, he may never have 8 catch, 200 yard, 4 touchdown game ever again, right? But if somebody is this talented, he was an athlete coming out of UTF, big play guy. I mean, if he's this talented coming out, you can't keep this guy on the bench. Like, you just can't do it. So it's really amazing to me that he wasn't really playing that much, and hell, even the times that he did play, he was balling. He was super efficient.
Touchdowns.
He was super efficient. I think amongst second year wide receivers, he has like the second most touchdown receptions of 10 plus yards next to CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson. I think he has 12 touchdowns of 10+ yards over the last couple of years. So I
which is
mean, it's
wild
yeah, and
because
he
he don't
barely
play.
plays. He doesn't even get that
Yeah,
much. Yeah, he doesn't get that much burn at all. So this guy, I mean, the sky's the limit for him. But
yeah.
again, I'm not spending first round picks for him. let's
Yeah,
let's
I
let's
mean,
pump
yeah.
the
If you
brakes
can
on
get
that.
if you can get a second, like a mid second, then shoot, I would do it. Or if you
Yeah,
can package him up with him in a second to get a first, then shoot, more power to you. I know
yeah.
I've seen some places where he's been traded for like a 24 first, or I saw another place where he was traded for Amari Cooper straight up. So
I mean, look, you don't know what's going to happen with Cooper, and I mean, the Cowboys may have a decision to make on him. They may trade him, they may cut him.
yep,
Either way,
yeah,
they save him $20 million. They save $20 million by moving off of him in some capacity, designating him as a post June 1st cut if they cut him.
yep,
So that's, I mean, dynasty outlook. I mean, the arrows are pointing in opposite directions for those two players. So I mean, a
yep.
little
My
steep for
next
my
one,
taste, but hey,
yeah.
I get it. I totally get it.
My next one is Derrick Henry. I mean, everybody knows who the king is. He's going into his seventh year in the NFL, going on at 28 years old. He's definitely past that apex for a running back. Uh, Once you get a running back in the second contract, you usually don't want a running back on his second contract. That's usually when they're downhill. But for him, it seemed like he getting stronger. A running back at 6'4", 250 pounds, like I don't. There's nothing is
This shit don't make
unheard
no
of.
sense, man.
It
It
don't make
makes
no
no
sense.
sense whatsoever.
Yeah, but for the Titans, they could actually cut or trade him post June 1st, and it'll only be a $3 million cap hit.
They
I
ain't
don't
cutting
know
Derrick
how.
Henry.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're gonna cut him, but it's there. Like they have an out. Uh, but this is a running back. He's in a weird, like he's one of these anomalies because again, he's 6'4", 250 pounds. He's led the league. I mean, he would have led the league this year based on. I mean, it took from him to be injured until JT took over. It was like another 3 weeks, 4 weeks before he actually passed him in rush
Yeah, there was like
yards.
a whole month and
Yeah,
change elapsed, and he was still like the NFL rushing leader, which is
yeah.
crazy.
So just to put that in perspective, like technically, like with the last 3 years, he could have been leading the league in rushing. So he's just one of those running backs. Like, is he too old? Like, can I trade him and get like a first, or do I just hold him? Like, I believe he's one of those running backs where you can get a first plus still, depending on who you try to deal with. I think a first plus like a young talented player could get you Derrick Henry, or that could be something you could receive. What do you think? What you got on Derrick?
Yeah, I mean, I'm more so on the I wouldn't go out and buy him. I would definitely hold if I have Derrick Henry.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be worried about his production at least this year. This year, I mean, I think this upcoming year, I mean, he should have this entire offseason to really, really rehab that foot because I know he probably rushed back a little bit sooner than he anticipated to get back. But I mean, he, as far as I can tell, I mean, there was no setbacks with the foot. They were just kind of managing his reps,
yep,
which is I think that may kind of be the approach that they may take this upcoming season, and just kind of managing his reps a little bit more as opposed to giving him all the carries. Deontay Foreman, I mean, he stepped in and did a pretty good job, kind of filling in for Derrick
yeah.
Henry
He
in
looked
his
good.
absence. Maybe they keep him and they keep him, just kind of spell him here and there a little bit more. But in terms of Derrick Henry's value, I mean, he's like we said, he led the NFL in rushing yards for like 5 weeks after he got injured for the season. So that just kind of gives you a glimpse as to how what he's still capable of. And another note is that early in his career, he wasn't really used that much.
Yeah,
He wasn't getting a ton of carries until midway through the 2018 season,
yep,
where they still had Dion Lewis for some unexplainable reason getting carries and touches over him. and then finally took them halfway through the season to realize, you know what, we got a 6'4", 250-pound tank behind
Yeah.
behind
Yeah.
him, and he needs to be getting the ball more. And when he got the ball, he was doing a lot with it, and that
Yeah.
just kind
And
of
remember,
basically propelled him to just destroying defenders on a
yeah,
repeat
and
basis.
remember Deion Lewis, he was a top 5 paid running back when they signed him from New England.
Yep.
So maybe they felt obligated to play him since they were paying so much money.
Yeah.
I
So
don't know.
I mean, on one hand, you feel like Derrick Henry is just just getting started, and maybe his cliff isn't until age 30.
Yeah.
But he did get injured, and he didn't miss most of the season, or miss half the season. So that's something to monitor in the offseason. But I think he's a hold for now. I think he'll be fine at least for this year, and then we'll have to see how how things unfold after this year,
Yeah.
after this upcoming year.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go ahead and do our one of our favorite times of the show is talk about props. No, last week I think I went 2 for 3. I think Dawson Knox for whatever reason just didn't get any work. It
Didn't
was
get any
weird,
targets.
but yeah, it was weird. But you know, my other players, they showed up. The Pat Mahomes was easy. Like
That was so easy. Oh my
that
God.
was too easy. Like but now if you look, they've raised it up to, I think he was at 26.5. So it's cutting it close, but
I think
it
I
was
got
good.
the Josh Allen over 275.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the other ones that I had. Who was the other one? I know Debo didn't score, so I missed that
Yep.
one.
Yep.
And then George Kittle hit. George Kittle went over 45.5.
Yeah. I was scared about that one. I was
It
kind of
was looking kind of
surprised.
bleak. It
Yeah.
was looking kind of bleak. I'm not gonna lie. I think he got it on that last. I think in the fourth
that
quarter
last
he had
Yeah, he did.
like a 20-yard reception or something, and which
Yeah,
took him
because
over.
it was hella bleak because Jimmy G wasn't doing nothing.
No,
Uh,
and that's
and
what
then
he usually
also
does in playoff games.
I had that Tyler Higbee. He reached that before halftime. So,
Yeah.
but let's get it. Let's try to see if we can get some hits here.
Yep.
So my first one is Joe Mixon, 23.5 receiving yards versus KC. I chose this one because outside of week 18, the week that they rested most of their starters, he's seen 6, 8, 5, and 7 targets per game. 5 in the Las Vegas game, and then 7 this past week versus Tennessee, which is about 6 receptions and 47 yards. And then like when he played the Titans, he had a 20% target share, and that's coming from a 16% target share versus the Raiders. So I feel very confident that he'll be able to reach that threshold, just because at this point, Cincinnati is showing you how they're going to attack you. They're in 3 wide every down. They got Uzama out there, and they got Mixon playing 75-80% of the snap. So
Yeah.
I think he's just guaranteed at least 4 targets, and they're just just stop us is basically what they're saying to everybody.
Basically.
My next one is Travis Kelce over half a touchdown. I just chose this one because Travis Kelce scored a touchdown in the last 5 games, even though his yards per game have fluctuated, but he's finding the end zone regardless of the fact. So,
And the
and then
playoffs is about momentum, so things continue to happen. That's a good bet.
Yep. And I mean, Pat just finds them, like, regardless of what's going on, he's gonna find them. And then my last one is Odell Beckham over 4 receptions versus San Fran. Over the last 5 games, he's averaged about like a little more than 4 receptions per game. And I think he's basically taken over as the second wide receiver. He's very comfortable in the offense. You can tell he's running the second most routes to Cooper Kupp, second most targets basically to Cooper Kupp also. So You can tell Stafford's getting very comfortable. He definitely trusts him when they get close to the end zone. So I just think it continues versus San Fran, who's a little more banged up coming into this game. I would think that that McVay finds a way to get him touches, because the last time they played, he only had 2 receptions, and they found a way they found a way to lose that game versus San Fran. So hopefully they don't take the foot off their pedal and beat them. So
yeah,
those are mine. What you got?
The first one I have is CJ Uzama over 36.5 receiving yards. He's seen at least 6. He's been at least 64 yards in back-to-back games. So he had 64 yards against. He had 71 yards last week and 64 against the Raiders. But over the last 7 games, he's seen at least 6 targets in 6 of them. So 6 of his last 7 games, he's had at least 6 targets. He's getting more involved in that passing attack, and given the nature of this game, they're going to be 7-point underdogs at Kansas City with the high over under. I would expect a lot of pass volume against the Chiefs, and Joe Burrow is going to have to air it out to keep pace. With that Kansas City offense, I think he's going to easily go over this number, and there's going to be a lot of points. There's going to be a lot of yards in that game as well. So. CJ Uzama over 36.5 receiving yards. And then this next one is a 2-pack, a 2-pack prop, same guy. Another week of me going back to the Deebo Samuel well. I have, over a half a touchdown and over 4 receptions. With regards to the touchdowns, he has 4 touchdowns in 2 games versus the Rams this year. He has 1 receiving touchdown, 2 rushing touchdowns, and he has a passing touchdown on the year against the Rams. And in both games, he's had at least 4 catches. So he had 4 catches for 95 yards in the last meeting, and then the meeting on Monday Night Football earlier in the season. He had 5 catches for 97 yards, including that he had a long 40-yard touchdown reception. So. They know Deebo Samuel's getting the ball, and they can't stop him. And he won't be seeing much of Jalen Ramsey because of the unique way that he's deployed on that San Francisco offense. So he'll see a lot of slot routes, carries out of the backfield, whatever the case may be. But he'll find a way to get 4 catches and score a touchdown this week. So that would round out my props for the weekend.
Yeah, you do have a good point about him avoiding Jalen Ramsey because of how they line him up. Like Jalen can't line up on the line of scrimmage and try to go get him if he's lined up in the backfield. So that's definitely.
And Jalen doesn't really travel anyway, so a lot of teams are being a little bit more strategic in how they deploy their number 1 receivers. Against that defense. So Jalen doesn't really travel unless Jalen decided to travel in the second half last week against the Bucs because Mike Evans was torching him. And then he ended up getting torched himself.
Yeah, he did get torched.
But
he sure did.
I think that was kind of like just kind of a lack of concentration on that play because it was, towards the end of the game, I think he was kind of bored and he got kind of surprised by the ball. Maybe. But he was a highlight reel on that play. That's the bottom. Yeah. That's what we all see. What we see is you on the receiving end of getting cooked, regardless of how you were playing. But no, but yeah. So I think Deebo Samuel gets scores a touchdown in this one and has at least 4 catches.
I like that. I need to make sure to try to go lock. I need to actually lock some of these in once we get off of here. But I like those.
Because the slightest the slightest yard that it goes up, or the slightest it can go up to 4.5 catches, or 36.5 yards for Uzoma can go up to like 39.5. I know the Tyler Higbee one went up when I tried to bet it earlier or like later in the week because it was like 39 and it was like 41 or 42 or something. So we definitely need to lock these in like tonight.
Yeah. And we're at the end of the show. It's another good show, another good episode. Again, we thank y'all for giving us your ears. Like I said at the beginning of the show, once we get later into the off season, we're going to take a little more deep dive in terms of team outlooks, talk about certain players in those teams, just try to get a better idea of like how we could potentially like value some of these players that might be in these different situations. And hopefully by then we'll have more head coaches locked up, because I mean, right now we still got, every spot's still open. I know we got Dable now is being linked to Miami, being the favorite for Miami, which is really wild.
Yeah.
So
nobody saw that coming.
Nah. So maybe he believes in Tua. I don't know. But
And maybe he just gave the Giants the middle finger.
Maybe we'll see. But yeah, some of those things, hopefully they shake out, and then we can have a better idea of how we might project the offenses. But you got anything else before we get up out of here?
No, just kind of echoing your sentiments, man. Just appreciate everybody tuning in, catching us every single week. Just kind of, giving you guys, some actionable information so you can go out and make some money this weekend. I know fantasy football season's over, but we still have a little bit of, fantasy, outlooks to discuss in the coming weeks with our, our team by team previews for the off season. So stay tuned for that. That's coming soon. And as Gene said on the outset of the show, please check out all the wonderful content on the Destination Devy podcast network. Got a lot of dope individuals doing some good things, doing some great things here. You can follow me on Twitter at just_ICO9. Follow Gene at Fantasy Genes, GENES, and then follow the page, our official Twitter page at Off the Line FF.
Yep. You can find us on Spotify, Apple under Destination Dev. Hit subscribe. Give us the five stars. Give a thumbs up if you find us on YouTube under Off the Line Fantasy Football. Until then, we'll talk to y'all next week. Y'all be safe. Enjoy the football. And let's try to make some money.
Championship weekend. Let's do it.